Looks like we're up. Heidi, are you good to go?
Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
Don? Yes. Stella?
Yep.
All right, we'll call this special meeting to order at 9:02 a.m. Roll call when ready.
Goss here, Bennett,
Here.
Glenn,
Here.
Valmute,
Here.
Pop.
Here. Any changes or adjustments to the agenda? Any declaration of conflict of interest? Okay. Do we have any public comment? About any public comment from Zoom? Seeing none. Any campground needs that we need to discuss?
Bella, I think you guys got the grant money, didn't you?
I don't know, I haven't looked at the receipt book. What grant money?
The 200,000.
Yes, yes, we did. I thought you were referring to something more recent. Yeah, it's in.
Okay. All right, so then we'll move into the budget work session. Wrong button. When did you send your budget in, Chief? When did you provide that to the board?
You. It was. Next week.
Can we get a copy of that?
Some spreadsheet that I normally provide.
Did you send it to all of us or just Ron?
Just supervisor top.
Okay.
last Thursday.
Yep, got it. I saw it where I thanked you for it. So. Yeah, okay.
Can you forward that to us when you get back to your office?
I just did.
Oh, did you? Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So I sent that to your trustee. account lady.
It's fine.
Okay, you got it.
Yep. I gotta get there first.
Thanks.
You said it ain't here.
Thank you.
Chief, would you like a copy?
No, thanks.
Thank you.
So did everybody review the budget that was put out in the middle of February, I guess? And specifically to fire, did anybody see any glaring issues here with respect to revenue?
Well, I would note that you have 2,000 under 673 and the chief has 5. Are you thinking that's for the old brush truck?
Yeah.
So the interest earned on the account, of course, as we can see here, we planned $500 last year. The actual interest earned was a little over $6,000. So I think that one could be bumped up a little bit. I do know that we'll be taking out a fair amount of money for the truck, but this next year, we should also then put in a fair amount of money with respect to the $500,000 increase for the fire truck purchase. So
But honestly, on the revenue side, it's okay to be a little more
it is, yeah,
conservative.
yeah. So if we want to leave it at 500, we can leave it at 500.
Why don't we move it up to 15?
Okay. Chief, are you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the other revenues again?
You said 1,500 on interest, Ellen?
Right. Other revenues, I don't know. I assume probably plan review and stuff like that. Mhm. Yep. So
Well, are we gonna bump up sale of fixed assets? I mean, the chief thinks he can get $5,000 out of that.
we're not even
truck.
to that line yet, so, yeah.
Oh, well, you asked for things that, does anybody see anything in revenues? And so. If you were gonna go down it in that order, you should have said so.
So do you? So Chief, you have 0 in there. Under
Other revenues.
other revenues, and I know that we've got some significant plans coming up. Matter of fact, they're over there on the table now. I know that you won't be here to do that, and so I don't know how we're gonna cover that ordinance.
Are you talking about the golf course?
Yeah,
I did the plan review for that already.
okay,
And I just got one for Dollar General that I'm working on. So, but that's still this fiscal year, but yeah, I'm not sure why I left that blank. We should have something in there.
think $1,000 is too much,
Yeah,
okay?
700.
maybe like 500,
I was gonna say, let's split the difference there.
because our plan reviews are 125 each, and we typically do like 2. The last couple of years, I've done 2 a year. But then, I think, and I'm not sure it's happening anymore, but I used to purchase, AED pads for the church, and they would reimburse us, and I think that money would go into other revenue. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it would.
Sale of fixed assets, go with Chief's recommendations there.
Yeah.
5,000.
Before we get to the bottom of that, are we still using you send me an estimate of 291, 506, 190, are you still using that?
291, 560.
506, 190.
We always change
Taxable
that
value.
at.
Oh, for taxable value?
after
Yeah,
board
that's
review.
what this budget is based on.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we really won't know what that number is until the close of Board of Review. 9 o'clock, 3 p.m., March 14th.
I just want to make sure we're still using that.
Yeah, yep. 291, 506, 190. Yep. And so then I come up with a value there of 454, 259.
What you got?
454, 259. So moving into expenditures. With our recent, with Chief's recent, resignation letter. I don't know what this line item is gonna do. Metro, I think, just hired a chief for 110.
Is that right? I'm not sure.
I think 110 to start, and by the end of the first year, it's 120. Something like that. So any thoughts about this line item? This represents, I believe, a 6% pay increase. What I did is I tried to, I know we normally only do 3%, but thinking about longevity employees and how to keep them. If we stay current with inflation, you know, our jobs, for example, take a look at our jobs. We get a raise every 3 or 4 years, right? I don't want to treat our employees that way.
If you want to keep them.
Right. Not if you want to keep them. And so I believe that that number 71,522 represents a 6% increase.
Do you know what the average salary for a fire chief in Michigan is?
What's that?
93,000,
Okay.
but typically falls between the range of, typically falls in the range of 86.2 and 108. I didn't do for population or for volunteer, so you have to take some off, put some on, depending on the tasks at hand.
I know there's talk of potentially internal candidate rising to the level of chief. And I understand that that's going to be a completely different board conversation. We've also had the conversation about incoming people getting paid almost as much as the outgoing people, right? We've had that conversation here. Is this going to be one of those times?
Since, I mean, honestly, this is something that we as a board are gonna have to get on fairly quickly.
Mhm.
And that means we need to get it advertised, because I don't think it's township's best interest just to take one individual that's already working there. We need to advertise for this job, make sure we're getting the best candidate possible, just like we did with Chief. And I wish he would just apply for it again. Or not go. So I don't know if that's even a consideration.
Well,
The
in this-
qualifications have to be there. You know,
And-
have you run a department before? Because Chief's experience was instrumental in all the grants we got and the updating of all of our equipment. I mean, his organization and what he's done for us. I can't even put into words how grateful I am. Thank you for your time. So I would like to see our township benefit from having another individual like that, and I think we're just shortchanging the people of Whitewater if we only pick from within without looking at other candidates. So I know we've got a short period of time, but I think it's necessary. I mean, I know that's not on the agenda today to talk about, but we need to talk about it.
Well, I've asked in our regular board agenda, I've asked the clerk to provide the current job description that we have for chief. I have the posting, but not the job description. And so.
We don't have a job description for the chief. It's in the ordinance. The fire ordinance. We've never had a separate job description. He wasn't hired with a job description.
So that's probably why I don't have a copy of it. I don't remember it being in the fire ordinance.
Yeah, the
But-
duties as outlined of the chief are outlined in the fire ordinance. When we created the Whitewater Township Fire Department after the rural dissolution.
Are educational standards in there too?
I don't have it memorized.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna say, Heidi, would you say the average chief was 96?
Between 81 and 96.
So, I'm currently proposing 71 and a half. Where do you think we need to move on that? Or leave it the same?
I mean, when you post a position like that, you ask
do
for
a
their
range.
salary requirements. And so we'd be stabbing in the dark to do anything different until we see what candidates' requests are.
You want to put a range?
I mean, we already have a range on the salary wage schedule. There's already range on there. In fact, this might be outside of that range. I think we adopted 55 to 70,000 when we did that.
How about just putting starting wage at?
But what we're doing
usually
here is
negotiable.
we're budgeting for possibilities. That's what we're doing. We're not necessarily saying this is what we're gonna set it at. We're budgeting for a possibility.
In regards to ads, I would opinion that I think you bracket it, you create a range, whether that's numbers 767 to 91 or whatever in terms of advertising it. And in essence, you're stating that it's consummate on experience and so you put that range in there to farm out candidates that either aren't going to meet those qualifications to come up to it, or they're overstating it. And there's no sense wasting anybody's time if somebody's looking for $140,000 and
That's exactly right.
but so bracketing it rather than one solid number. I would be in favor of, but that's just.
So then when you get to budget, what do you do? Go in the middle?
That's typically where I would put it. Then you're gonna have to make an adjustment, and the adjustment is based on the hire, and you either have qualifications for, that support
For that
that.
money or
above
you
it
don't,
what,
right.
But it's, it just happened that these two things are falling right on top of each other. That's makes it a little unique.
So last year, the chief got a 9% increase. And that's what got him to the 67,474. And on the salary wage schedule, we would need to amend that range because, and I don't believe we've amended that range since we set it originally when we hired the chief in 2018, but it does say 55 to $70,000 a year.
So then from the conversation I see here, we'll leave it at the 71,522. And we'll adjust from there.
Yeah, we're spending any more time on it is not
Right.
gonna get any more productive.
And you came by that number just by a
The six-
percentage.
Yep, 6%. Mhm.
I mean, there's rationale to it. So.
How many people are using the electronic version of the budget? Chiefs or mine?
I've got chiefs here and I'm using your.
Okay. So note 24 comes up. And this is important here. It's a big change from where we were at, right? I don't know, chief does not have this in his budget, but I believe that we need to get whoever is chief some additional help in there just to give him some respite. For anybody who's carried a pager or who waits for the tones to drop,
Doesn't have a
Doing-
life.
doing that day after day is horrifically demanding on one's personal life.
Yeah.
And, you know, I believe that if the incoming chief has someone else to rely on, even if it's once or twice a month, it would be forward thinking of this board to fund another person.
Let's work in twos.
So I basically in note 24 said approximately $40,000 set aside for additional personnel. And then the special note is chief respite time. That's my argument here.
You said 40.
Yeah, and so of the 46,000 that's on that line item, approximately 40,000 would be provided to additional help. And so chief has $4,000 in that particular line item. I bumped it to 6 and then added the 40.
Okay, well, 703 is the assistant chief salary. So we currently,
That's the only one that's paid out of there, most likely. Yes. But
yeah,
if there was additional personnel, they might also
Rotating.
then be paid out of 703. Now, we could create another line item, most likely, but anyone outside of the chief who would receive a W-2 could potentially be paid out of 703.
You're just transferring, right?
so just so I understand this, you're allocating 6,000 to the assistant chief position and 40,000 to another person.
Yeah, that's what I'm recommending we do. Now, on the wage for the assistant chief being consistent with the 6% increase, I have that person's wage at $44.19, $4,419. That's what a 6% increase would come to.
So the 40,000 that you put down is not necessarily one person, it could be multiple people.
Right. You know, a year or so ago, Chief started a program in-house. He kind of told us about it where people could sign up for weekends and stuff like that. That didn't go very well. A different plan might include mandatory time, right? So
Or just another full-time person that's dedicated to be there from this time to this time.
I love that idea. I love
Because
that
I
idea.
don't think telling somebody mandatorily that they have to be there when it's a paid volunteer fire department and they've got other things in their life going on, like jobs and family time is probably not gonna work, Ron. It might
Yeah,
even
but usually-
discourage people from joining the fire department if it's mandatory. They've already got mandatory training on Monday nights and mandatory training on all kinds of.
Yeah,
other
but
things.
usually when you do shift work like that, you're covering different parts of the shift.
But make no mistake, the 40,000 that I have contemplated here is not for a part paid person who is a volunteer. It is for a post. It is for a position in the fire department. And so that's why I say it's mandatory.
Making a buddy system. He's doing a buddy system. So if the chief's not there, you have coverage.
So you're not saying it's mandatory for the regular firefighters?
Correct.
All right, see, I was not understanding that's
Yeah,
what you were saying.
this is an actual post.
The deputy position,
Yep.
deputy, it's redundancy, you know, if the person.
It's a full-time position, in other words. Full-time.
Not at 40,000.
Not 40,000, it's not for a full.
Well,
fire-
remember though, that they don't have to have the same level of education and training that your fire chief does.
Yeah, that's a good
So-
point. That's a good point.
So they don't
And they have a lot
warrant
of
the
it.
same level of pay.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
Yeah, you're not hiring two chiefs.
that's right.
Can I ask Brandon a question about that? The need for another person, I understand that. What hours of the day, I mean, do we need this person, or is it still as needed? And if it is in the building, then where would they work in there? What do you foresee? How would this scenario go?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that and I'm not real sure. I mean, 9 to 5 during the day, those are the times that burden me because everybody else is at work, right? And I try to go to some of the medicals now. Well, almost all of them during that time because our ambulance is cleared over in Acme. So, you know, we'll get a call down at Island View and it takes them 25 minutes to get there, even though it makes the sirens. I try to supplement that, just like Metro has, you know, their tiered response system with EMTs that go stabilize a patient and then the ambulance shows up to transport. So I try to do that in our county for our citizens. And of course, I'm not always around to help out, but it seems our weekends are fairly well covered. It's just during the, 9 to 5 during the week. Is our week point.
And my thought process here is that, maybe chief can plan to have every Monday off or every Tuesday off. That type of recovery time because responses take away from your personal life.
Oh, yeah.
That's all there is to it. Responses do that. And they do it to everybody. But as you just learned and probably knew in the past, chief makes a lot of runs.
By himself.
Chief makes a lot of runs.
And that's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to send, what if he gets hurt? You got one person.
So I don't know if the 40,000 is a good number for the board, but it's a start. It's a start.
Well, we'd have to come up with a job description for that too. So we can advertise it.
What do we think on the line item?
Leave it,
I say
46.
leave it where it's at.
We've been using 703 for the assistant chief for a while now. And we haven't really been using 704 for officers. I mean, it's all zeros.
Well, I can explain that if you allow me. So I had stipend for the assistant chief and the captain for a little while, but the captain, he kind of wasn't using it. So I took it away from him to balance the budget a few years ago. And then, Nick had the stipend to do the training officer position. But he really, during COVID and even after COVID, he kind of got away from doing that. His job was fairly busy in itself. So then we hired Josh Morgan, who is a certified training instructor. So I asked him if he wanted to do the training officer position. So If you remember midway through the budget this fiscal year, we transferred that stipend to Josh so he can do the training officer position, which he does a fantastic job. It's really taken the load off my shoulders. But my budget here, I proposed giving Nick back a $4,000 stipend and keeping the a $4,000 stipend, $4,000 to be the training officer job. Cause Nick does do a lot for the department and doesn't sign the book.
We haven't.
Okay, can you say that again? So I want to make sure I got this. You proposed giving Nick back the $4,000 stipend under 703.
Yep.
And he's still the assistant chief,
Yes.
and then giving 4,000 in the 704.
For the training officer.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that.
I guess where I was going with it is breaking it out, keeping the wages separate. Where you've got the 46 in here, but we're really looking at, what was it, 40? For
Mhm.
the new personnel. I guess I was just thinking it's being mixed in with other wages. It might be nice to be able to see it separate on our budget line item. So that's why I was thinking if we wasn't using the 704, but clearly we're going to, so.
Yeah, and I was looking for another code, but we kind of go from 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6.
Right,
Yeah, you
That's
don't
stuck in the
really have
middle of
one.
Training and run wages,
You do 0.5, I guess.
I'm not sure.
We might be able to do 706. It depends on if it's already been used in another fund. I don't recall that it is.
I don't know, anybody else think that's a good idea? Or just mix the wages?
I think if the code's there to separate it, I'd separate it, but
Yeah.
if it's not, I wouldn't spend any more time on it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, you like?
No,
it's me.
Oh.
that happens to me when I'm on the Zoom, so I'm just wondering if the cord's screwed up.
I'm having technical issues here, but that's all right. We'll get to it.
I'm hearing it coming out of the speaker up there, so I
Well,
thought
that
that's why I
happens-
thought.
no,
it was-
that happens. to
So
me.
what line item are we on? Did we just decide to leave 703 the way it was?
Cheryl, was there a 706?
I don't see that we have a 706. We could create 706.
I kind of like to see it separated.
Okay,
What's 706 called?
Well, what is 706 going to be? Is that going to be this other person? The 40 some thousand?
I would think so, because what normally goes in 703 is gonna continue going in there.
so my thought here is let's clean this up while we're in it. And 703 was gonna go back to Nick Carpenter, is that correct, chief?
Yes.
Okay.
That'll be his stipend.
And so what is Nick's title? So then I say 706 becomes assistant chief.
Why?
Well, because 703 is wages in every other account.
Yeah, we can't change that name.
So I would recommend that we change. Or that if we're gonna add 706.
Okay, so 706 is gonna become
She didn't hear you,
salary AC. Right? Is that what you're suggesting, Ron?
I don't know if it's gonna be a salary or if it's gonna be an hourly thing, right?
Right, so
So,
maybe not that word,
Call it
but
wages.
we have a lot, we have salaries, wages officer, training wages, run wages. I prefer to see it, if we can, label it what it really is. Because we've got a lot of things going on there.
Well, we created 709 for the on-call,
Yeah,
if you remember.
but we never used it.
But we can't, well. Shouldn't say that. I mean, we can change the name, but. We could do that, I suppose.
That's not a bad suggestion.
I don't think that's being used in any other fund, but I have to look. $709 is also being used in ambulance. We created that.
But we're not using that either.
Yeah, that's true. We're not using that either, because we have 708 is duty crew wages. That was way back. And 709 on-call wages. In ambulance. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with adding 706. But then it's not available to other funds if you're gonna call it assistant chief.
Why don't you change it to rotating chief or rotating assistant chief? That way, if they share the responsibility, you have a line item. Because until you hire someone, somebody's gonna have to share that responsibility if you're gonna put it in your roll call.
Ron, on this worksheet that we're working with. Under recommended, am I supposed to have access to be able to put numbers in there?
so that,
Because mine let me for the first few and now it won't.
me too. So I don't know what went wrong there. I'm trying to, you should have access to all those columns, but
All the columns or just W? I'm okay with just W.
Yeah, I'm in the same position. Some worker and some aren't.
I'm just checking other sheets.
I got some blurry stuff. I think,
So
for 'em.
for some reason, fire fund is not responding. So. Yeah. Might have to redo that sheet.
I'll just write my changes on here
Yeah.
and then.
Yeah.
When
So
you get it
are
fixed.
we gonna do 706 or are we changing 709?
Say we do 706.
I concur.
Yep,
What are we calling it again? What's the label?
I think assistant chief or wage assistant chief.
So the one that just says wages, 703, we're leaving it just say wages,
Yep,
and that's being changed to 40? What was it?
No, being reduced by 40. The 40 is coming down to 706, right?
I don't remember us having that discussion.
Oh, I thought that's what we said earlier.
And,
Okay.
No.
and that's fine, because I think that's the intent, as I understand the discussion thus far. And so once 706 gets created, I think we take the 40 out of 703 where it's currently headed. And put it in 706. I concur.
Yeah, that
And
may
you're
have just been a
leaving
thought in my head
6
then.
in 703.
Leaked out.
Which would
I don't know, I was
actually be-
preoccupied, so.
Okay, well, you said 706 is gonna be assistant chief, but that's Nick,
Correct.
and that's the 4,000.
That is correct. So
And they
really,
just reversed them.
It's
really,
just reversed.
yeah, we should take the 6,000 and put it down in 706.
No, other way.
Other way. Cause he's got Nick as.
Well,
he's been
because,
paying
the
Nick
reason
out.
why, well, I don't know. I guess the reason why I'm saying that is all along in 703, we've been tracking that assistant chief wages.
See, that's what
That's what the history is.
and that should stay the way that is. And this new personnel should go down to the 706, in my opinion, so that you can track the assistant chief wages.
What is there
You know.
to track in the assistant chief wages?
Depends if you pay him hourly or
So,
salary.
In the previous year, it was paid under $4,000. Last year, we paid about $4,000. In this current year, we'll pay about $4,200.
And then
So we're
looking
not
to move it.
tracking a lot.
That's not the point, Ron. The point is that you are tracking it. And you see the history of it. That's the point.
Okay.
And a
So
brand new,
Just leave them all under 703, one line item. They're all wages. If you want to track every fire personnel, then you go to,
Individual lines.
no, then you go to their wage and hour sheet, their time cards.
But they might
But
not
we'll
be in the
work
same
on-
skill though.
When we're working on a budget though, seeing the line items this way and for the public to see what you're paying.
So we're gonna have,
It's transparent. We're looking for transparency.
so we're gonna have one line item called 703. That's assigned to assistant chief in fire. But all of our other 703s will not be an assistant chief.
We're talking about creating a new position. And we're talking about spending $40,000 on it.
Yeah, that needs to be tracked
That needs
separately.
to be tracked separately because it is a new position we're talking about doing here. Apparently, we thought it was important enough to break out salary for officers and training wages and run wages, on-call wages. We thought that was important enough to break those out. I would think that this new position for 40,000 is important enough. I mean, like I said, Ron, it's just one line item we add. We keep using 703 for the assistant chief's wages, and we label it wages assistant chiefs. What's wrong with that? And we add 706 for
We,
this.
we
new-
can't add, well, we can't add assistant chief to the name of the 703 line item because that is a common line item in every fund where we pay
Okay.
wages.
That's why we were talking about 706
Right.
being, because it's not used in any other departments.
And I think the tracking history will still be there that you're talking about. The transparency will be there. We will lose the last 3 or 4 years that Nick Carpenter has been the assistant chief, we will lose that tracking ability.
But you're changing the job title too. The person's doing more than Nick was doing. Thus,
And
the
somebody's
greater
gonna go,
cost.
you spent 3,825 and then 4,169, and now you're spending 46,000. What's going on here? It's not clear. That's all I'm saying. If I was doing the budget for myself, I wouldn't do it that way.
Well, because you're doing two different things. Nick is doing one job right now. And you're kind of.
Right
It
now,
doesn't
Nick
matter
is-
to me, track it how you want, but you're changing the job.
Right now, Nick is only being paid for responses, training and responses.
To see he's not being
But
paid.
he's
for-
doing the assistant chief job. And so when he was doing the training officer job, he got that stipend under 703. Now that goes to a different person. So if you so right now under 703, you've got Nick and Josh being paid under there.
Yeah, Nick's not being paid.
Well, Nick isn't, that's right. So it's just, so yeah, that's right, but Nick is going to go back to being paid.
And you're
Yeah.
proposing 4,000 for 704. For officers' wages, correct?
No, because that's the training officer.
Well, I'm looking at chief.
Chief wants to make it the training officer, let's put it that way, because no one's, it used to be Tim Arbanowski got
It's-
paid to be the
Right.
captain.
Yeah, it's.
And we're trying to figure it out. I have to know, I can't just I mean, you haven't even come up with what the name of, you know,
Because we can't even agree on,
Line items.
well, that's why we're having this discussion. So everyone knows going forward what these line items, who's gonna be paid under what line items.
well,
The payroll office certainly needs to know,
so.
because this is gonna
under-
change, it
under
sounds
park
like,
wage,
in less than a
For
month.
example, under park wages. How do you track who's paid what?
By the time.
It's the
card.
same question
Because
here.
they're all park rangers. It's all the same position under the park fund.
They all get paid the same?
Well, no, of course, people
But
get
it's the
paid
same
different
category.
rates, but it's the same category.
These are
Park
different
rangers.
categories.
706, the creation of that is a new position, and it's, I mean, you're talking about putting the $40,000 in there for the new position. Yeah, I mean, you could footnote 703 if you want for this budget, but I think it's the fact that there'll be zeros before that becomes transparent that the position was new, and tracking that separate. I think downgrade wages by the 40,000, create 706 wages assistant chief, move the 40,000 there and footnote it if you want, but I think it's easily explainable going forward.
Assistant chief, 40,000, that's Nick's position.
No.
No,
Chief
Nick-
label on it.
That's not what he
No.
said. He said 706 would be,
He said
For the
assistant
40,000.
chief,
Yeah.
and you said, and
Yeah.
John, you said assistant chief.
Did I transpose the numbers wrong? I mean,
No, 706 was originally gonna be a salary for the assistant chief. That's what you said,
I
Ardell.
may have misspoke the numbers in terms of moving. them.
And then we had changed because 703 is where Nick had been historically paid. But really, Nick hasn't been paid out of 703. It's actually the training officer. So there goes all of your tracking ability right there, right down the drain. So anything you sought to
Track is
gain by
different.
703, paying just the assistant chief, that went out the window last year with this budget.
Well, no, because the chief wants to make 704 the training officer. So then 703 would only be the assistant chief, as it has been, and 706 would be this additional personnel. Am I following you, chief? on the 704, the training officer?
Yes.
So that would no longer apply to,
Take 706 personnel and add the 40,000 there.
There you go.
so currently in our wage salary sheet, we have the fire chief listed, assistant fire chief, fire captain, fire lieutenant, and safety officer. Those are officers.
So the training officer technically could be listed as a lieutenant position.
And so all of those subcategories, with the exception of the assistant chief, which was gonna be paid out of 703, but we haven't done that now for an entire year. Training has been paid out of 703, so any tracking is kaput. But the reason we have line item, bear with me. Line item 704 officers is to cover everyone else in the fire department who is an officer. And that would be the captain, the lieutenant, and the safety officer. All three of those positions come out of that line item.
Except that there's never been more than one, there's only been a captain. So we knew who got that money.
But moving forward, we don't know that.
Correct. You could be sharing this responsibility amongst 5 people.
So once again, the tracking is.
But I heard the chief say, and I have it written down here, that 704 is where the training officer would be paid instead of under 703. Nick was paid under 703. Josh Morgan is paid under 703 because it was a transfer of the training duties from Nick to Josh Morgan. It just came to a different person. And then Nick only got paid under 705 and 707.
I see your point.
And so,
Yeah, and that was just a temporary thing that lasted 6 months
And so,
until I could sort it out with this new budget.
and so now Nick's coming back on as what?
The assistant chief. stipend.
Okay,
I mean, to me, the assistant chief stipend, the 703 goes to 4,000 as the chief requested, or 4419 as you had said was part of that 46,000 number. And then the training officer, 704 goes to 4,000. And then we add 706 for you could even call it additional personnel or something. I don't know. I think the only thing,
Just personnel.
or personnel,
I'd leave it personnel because they're gonna swap it out, the duty out amongst themselves possibly. Correct?
I don't know how that.
Yeah, you don't know how it's gonna work. It all depends on who's trained on what.
Well, not necessarily, we're all trained to respond to incidents, but it may depend on what the new chief, the big idea is the new chief has too.
would we want to call it on-duty personnel or no?
I just like personnel.
Station personnel?
what about if we just leave it 709 on-call wages?
This is not.
But why wouldn't it be?
It could be. It all depends what kind of context you put it in.
I mean, I don't know what the title of the job description is gonna be for this person. That should line up with the line item. The name of the line item,
So with that thought in mind, why don't we just leave 703 at $46,000? And when we come up with a line item name that we like, or a job description that fits the line item, or a line item to fit the job description,
Transfer the funds.
then we could transfer the funds. But sitting here an hour
I think the
to
chief
talk
has a
about
good
5
point.
line items is ridiculous.
I think the chief has well, it's a major shift in what's going to happen in the fire department. And so I think it's obviously this discussion isn't over. It's coming to a close for today, but there's gonna be a lot more discussion about this is a new position that's being created, a new job description, a new advertisement, all that. So that has to be talked about. But if you wanna leave it the way it is, for now, but, I think that, you know, that should be eventually, if you wanna track that position more precisely, you would give it its own line item. So are
Everybody
we,
good with the 46,000?
Yep.
Yeah, then when the plan gets developed, we can move it.
Excellent.
but then we're adding 4,000 per chief's recommendation to 704? For training officer?
Yes. Now, chief is recommending 26,000 for training wages run. You've got 30,570. Is that another increase just by a percentage?
What line item are you at? Training wages?
It's 705.
Yeah, training wages. I have it at 30. Yeah. So that contemplates a 6% raise.
Okay, so just to be clear, anything that is higher than what chief's got, more than likely is at 6%.
I would think so. Yeah, I would think so. For example, let's see, training time, including probationary, added about $1.50 an hour. And I don't know if chief.
$30.
Yeah, and again, I want our people to be current. Yeah.
Okay, you're talking about 705
Yeah,
at 20? No, last year we went to 25 on that.
right. And chief was saying
25.
26 this year, but Ron has,
He's got.
did the multiplication by the 6% of their current wages today and come up with a higher number. So I'm suggesting we just go with a higher number.
And according to my input numbers, Cheryl, our last year's budget was 22,320. That was the original and the amended budget,
We're
not
at
25.
21.5 at
No,
the end
no,
of
no, no.
January.
The 25 is $25 an hour
Oh, I see.
for training wages.
Yeah.
The current pay scale for the firefighters is $25 an hour for training time, including probationary, and $30 an hour for response time. That's what we went to last year. It was 17 and 20 before that.
And if you are using the electronic version, just flip to the salary or to wage salary page. And you'll see all of the proposed numbers there for wages in red.
Where's that at? On the tab down below?
Yep. So wage salary tab, it should be almost all the way to the right.
Smallest possible print.
So are we leaving the 30,570 in 705?
I like it.
That's just chief's recommendation times the 6%, correct?
I don't know how chief come up with,
I'm saying your 30,570 was that chief's number times 6%.
no, that was our previous year expenditures. So I didn't have to calculate hours or anything like that. So I took a look at how many training hours they had. Likely training hours aren't gonna drop off. They're probably only gonna increase. And so I don't believe I had any adder for increased training.
Right.
So yeah, 6%. That's where I'm at.
Okay. I'm not seeing this. What's it under? I see wage, salary, graded wage. But I'm not seeing what you're talking about.
Yeah, wage salary,
Where's it at? What am I missing?
page down. Or maybe it's page up. There it is.
Oh, there they are.
There it
I'm
is.
sorry.
Yep, no problem.
Think 30 is too high, or you think it's all right?
No, I bumped it up, keeping the same hourly rate for training wages. I bumped it up to 26 because we are gonna fall short this year on that line item. We're already, at the end of December, we were already at 19,500 or something like that.
Yeah,
So. I personally think the wage is dialed in right now. I don't have any issues with people coming in for training. But, the reason why we're probably gonna exceed that line item is because, you know, we have 13 people. We just
Yeah.
have more people showing up for training.
Yeah.
and we want that.
Oh, yeah.
We-
Yeah, I
we
mean,
want that.
Some of our training is mandatory, so. And we did some extra training sessions, you know, like the driver training, the state certified driver training. I kind of made everybody do that.
That's a good idea, though.
Yeah, I mean, we probably should do it like once every 5 years. Or like. And I'm sure Paul also would appreciate our efforts in keeping everybody safe on the road too, so. Yeah, the $26,000 that I proposed would probably get us through this fiscal year, but if you increase the hourly rate, I would have to crunch those numbers. I did not do that. But we're still good on run wages, so those two line items kind of feed off each other. We're not gonna go over on both of them.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna stick with Ron's number then on the 30,000?
It's been doing that. since I-
Personally, I think the chief's number 26 gets it. We're already adding a lot of money to the wages in here with,
The
the
problem is,
40,000 for a new person.
but Shirley said he was already gonna go over as it was. He's at 19,000 now.
Well, that's this fiscal year. We're talking next fiscal year.
So
You know,
26,000.
I'm at 3570.
We're talking $4,000 here.
That's exactly right.
So
Get him the money,
err on the side of caution for the wages.
get him the money.
And if they don't use it, they don't use it.
Correct.
20,000, same thing that chief has.
Yep. Under note 25,
leaving Affleck at 45.
I'm sorry,
we're leaving 713 at 45. Cause you're going to note 25, which is 714. 713's that flag.
So I bumped that up $200 to accommodate our 13 personnel.
They're the same, so.
And you may need to bump it up more if we're adding a new hire.
I think we're good on that line item
Okay,
on 713. But 714 is where we can have this discussion. Okay. So we had talked about a small group health policy for our employees that resulted in kind of moving away from our own small policy and contributing maybe to the costs through an HSA account to offset market health insurance. And so in order to fund that, I arbitrarily picked 10%
10% of what?
wages.
So you went with 702, 703, 704,
I think that's what I did.
705.
I think that's what I did. But that doesn't look like enough. Quite frankly.
that looks like peanuts.
I guess I haven't looked, but just off the top, did you add this health insurance line item to other funds?
I think I did, Cheryl. Yeah, I think I.
Yeah,
Well,
cause you have to. do the same.
714, I think, is in all of our funds anyway.
Yeah, it's in there, but I'm just pointing out that you have to comply with labor laws on this topic here.
Yeah, and so anybody eligible, yeah, absolutely. Anybody eligible
Right.
would
This isn't
receive.
just gonna apply to fire fund.
Correct. Yeah,
What makes them eligible? Can't get the word out this morning, sorry.
I don't think we as a board have concluded that.
Okay,
To my knowledge, again, I think we're at the point of realizing we weren't gonna go with a small group because not too many people were interested in it. But as we know, personnel is gonna change, right? So, maybe health insurance does become a big deal. I don't know.
health insurance has always been a big deal.
Um,
Yep,
then why don't we have it?
because we're a small township and they've never had it, Ron. And every time we bring it up, we look at what the cost may be and who we have to, who we're obligated to provide it to if we provide it to one. And it just seems like such a daunting endeavor that I think we just skip right over it and keep moving.
And I'm saying it's time to get our heads out of the sand if we want to be competitive. We've got our wages competitive now. We just have to work on the benefits. And so I'm all for a small group health insurance plan, but maybe we take baby steps and just do the HSA contribution. That's what this $17,000 is.
Well, you brought a line item on that and even the small group is extremely expensive. Health insurance is an extremely expensive proposition. So,
So I think that's why he said,
The HSA.
yeah,
The seven, if you add the 4,000 in there, you come to 172,000. It's a 10%,
Okay.
17
All right,
is,
so, yeah,
it's the temper is the calculation. It short $200 based on what our budget is, but it's.
so again, if we end up not doing any contributions, then we end up not doing any contributions. But at least we have planned for it in this budget to get it done. It's a big step. Are we good with it?
I am.
I am.
Now, the ones that are grayed out, the 715 and 716,
Mhm.
is because that's gonna change.
So, and that's why I couldn't answer your question on 714. Typically, if it's a calculation box, it's grayed out. And so because Social Security and Medicare will change with whatever number you put in there, that is a computation box.
Okay, why is the requested and the recommended, why are they in there and why are they different?
So, because if you take a look at the requested, we have 30,570 and 20,000 and 4,500 and 17,000, right? And for some reason, we can't make changes in those particular line items in the recommended column or in the adopted column. I don't know why. It's a technical glitch that I have to figure out.
Okay.
Oddly
I was
enough,
just wondering why requested
yeah,
and
no, that's a
recommended,
good question.
two different numbers, and recommended is lower than requested, which is
Right,
odd,
right.
considering we're increasing wages, not decreasing.
Yeah, below those grayed out boxes, the sheet appears to be performing normally. So, there's a problem with those cells. Clearly, there's an error on that, on those few cells there.
Now, moving on to stuff that is not controversial. Office supplies.
Want to bump that back to 1,200?
I think so. Hey, let me do it.
Mm-hmm.
Postage, you got 50, he's got 150.
And he's used none the last 2 years.
Help me with that. Are you sending something out? This is our new chief. Are you thinking of sending something out? Cause 150 is not even a lot. If you were even,
Postage, so I usually buy stamps with petty cash. And it's like $20 or $30 a year maybe, and I'm not sure why it's not coming up.
Have you had, it would come up if, when you turn your petty cash reconciliation in and we post to the accounts that you used.
And I have that on the petty cash that's coming in next week.
Maybe it's just been put underneath office
Yeah,
supplies.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe
Yeah.
It really is only like $20 or $30 a year I use.
So 50's good then.
Yeah, you don't make a lot of use of your petty cash,
No.
cause you don't have to have it replenished that often.
Right.
Right, and that's when we would post to what had been spent.
So $50 would be just fine.
$50 for postage, yep.
Fuel and oil, I recommended 6, Chief recommended 7. Let's go with 7.
Yeah, we're at 6,500 last year.
So I show 56 last year, and I show about 4,000 as of this year.
We're talking $1,000 here.
Yeah, yeah. And prices could go up, prices could go down.
Could be heating with wood this time next
They're on
year.
their way up, yeah.
Yeah, diesel.
Really, gas went up higher than diesel. Diesel came down and gas went up. Believe it or not.
Recently,
Yeah,
they may have took out the additive. The, winter
that's
gas.
what I was thinking. Cause diesel never goes down. It is kinda early. Wonder what they know and we don't.
So operating expense, you know, this is always kind of a black hole, 740. I went a little heavier. Probably don't have to because we got new trucks coming in, but we're not really gonna have that in this budget year.
That, a lot of things I purchase get
Stuck in there.
funneled under 740, and I should be more aggressive on putting that, some of that stuff. But, you know, just a lot of stuff falls under that category,
Yeah,
you know.
it does. I mean, tires alone, right?
No, that's a separate,
Yeah, it's a vehicle.
That's
expense.
separate.
Oh. Okay,
but like, I had to buy a new chainsaw. So that, I think that may have gotten put under there. But, you know, it's a catch-all really. So I bumped it up because, you know, we, some hose fittings and, spanner wrenches and stuff like that, they, you know, the guys lose on just about every call that we go on where we use them. They came back from hose testing and, we're missing like $500 worth of equipment. And I think probably the company who was doing our hose testing made off with them, you know, inadvertently. It's not
Yeah.
like they're intentionally stealing our supplies.
Can you go back there and get them?
Well, no matter where.
Go, I would call them and say, you have any of my tools? Or I'd label them something, if you're losing
They're
tools.
labeled. But no, I made that 10,000 just. Cause I think we're probably getting close this year.
All right, so let's just switch the back to 10,000. Okay with you?
I go with 10.
Yep.
Okay,
Turnout care.
tune up gear.
Yeah, I kept that the same because we did do really well on grant funding for turnout gear, and I think I have one, maybe two sets of gear that will need to be replaced.
All right, but we're not gonna have you for writing grants anymore, chief,
Well,
unless you're gonna do it on the
I
side.
could probably do it on the side.
There you go.
I'm not going anywhere, for the time being.
So you want to keep turnout gear at 12? We just purchased what, 14,000 worth, right? So
It's
18.
18 something.
And then you got a grant.
Or
so it's
set.
like 1,600.
And then, yeah, we had the Department of Treasury grant, which I have no idea where that's at. Or if we've even gotten reimbursed.
So then you should be budgeting more. If the grant doesn't show up.
I think we're covered.
Okay.
boost uniforms, even though we don't have anything attributed to that account thus far this year.
But you might,
Well, we just paid a Gentees bill, I think. A couple weeks ago, we paid Gentees for, it was 2 different invoices.
It's close to $1,200. And
Yeah.
I need to order, I'm kind of waiting for the dust to settle with, because staffing has really gotten mixed up and switched around here. You know, with Cole Kushner leaving, and then we're bringing on Tyler Glenn. And then we're not sure what's gonna happen with the training officer position. So I kind of put the uniform thing on hold, but there's probably $2,000 or $3,000 worth of uniforms that I need to purchase.
3,500.
You want that at 3,500, chief?
Yes.
Medical professional service, 5,000.
Yeah, and of course, Munson, increases their annual physical rate. And then we have added a couple of pre-cancer screening blood screens, so. And plus with the 13 personnel. And
Mhm.
possibly. If we bring on any new hires. I kick that up a little bit, I kick that up $1,500.
What goes under professional services, chief?
He asks this question every year. I know I have something dedicated to that.
Is that where the crew force thing goes?
Oh, yeah, the Verizon, the iPad, $40 a month.
Yeah,
Okay,
That's just for the data package for the iPad. And I think you piggybacked onto Verizon too, so.
but the invoice should be separated out between fire and park, so they should be separate line items.
well, the invoice got separated between fire and supervisor because there's no PO ever been requested. For apparently what is new service under your name on the Verizon bill. So I don't know if there was a new phone and new service or just new service, but no PO was ever requested for that new thing.
Well, then I'll make it a board action because it is a utility and according to our policy and procedure, no purchase order is required. And so
Well, it's new service. Any goods or services require a PO.
that's incorrect.
So,
You're wrong.
okay, well,
I'm
it's in your
going to
name.
Take a break, I need to use the restroom.
And
Keep going.
again, that's wrong.
It says Ron Pop right on the bill, pal.
Right. Could there be a short in one of those wires or something? Cause that was happening to me when I was doing Zoom.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But it's touchy.
It's very touchy,
Mhm.
even if you sit back or.
Yeah.
Did it make you reboot it all or no?
No,
Just the noise. Hmm.
I missed.
Nothing, we stopped.
Why?
I don't know.
Don't you
Nobody
keep
kept
going? Sorry.
Motion to approve the budget.
Don't tempt me.
Ooh, sorry. I gotta put little rubber things.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Don't look like anything else has got any big surprises here.
You know, in my spreadsheet, I highlighted in light blue the things that I changed.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know, things like Social Security and Medicare,
So we differ on septic services.
Mm-hmm. I was
I-
just gonna
I
ask.
have a
about
note that we completed that in 2021, so I assume that was clean then. Has it been cleaned since 2021?
no.
Pumped. So we really have no history on it. So should we pump it in this next fiscal year to see where the level's at?
Only what, 3 years?
Yeah,
It's not
well,
like people are living there, you know.
well, they are.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. You're walking trucks
Only have
too,
it.
is that going in your drain?
No. it was separate. What did we figure on that? Once every 5 years?
That's what I do.
I mean, it was
Myself.
brand new in 2017, wasn't it? Yeah, it was brand new in 2017.
We did it 4 years. Well, I don't know, it's. Can be done this year or next year.
What are we doing?
Well, we.
I would opinion if we're getting a new chief and getting a baseline. Since nobody knows when it's last. I mean, you said 17 is when it went in?
Well, that's when it was brand new. I mean,
Right.
we could look it up. I haven't been asked to look it up, but we could.
We got pumped in 21.
You
Yeah.
did, okay.
Because
That-
there's
that's
$127
according to my-
there.
Okay.
That's according to my notes that we had it pumped in 21. So we can go to 0 if you want.
I say we leave it at $450, although it only cost us $127.21.
We're leaving it at 0.
Septic services is
0.
gonna be what?
450.
We skipped over lawn maintenance. What are we doing this year for lawn maintenance? We don't have anyone under contract anymore. You were gonna revise the lawn maintenance specs. Gonna need to get that out for bid here pretty quick.
Well, we'd also talked about doing it in-house this year, right? So, I mean, in the rest of the budget, you'll see where we've got a potential to funding to buy equipment to do that. And if the board decides to outsource it, then we outsource it. But for the
Well-
fire department discussion, I left it at 500, chief left it at 500.
And I'll just point out that buying some equipment, I guess, I'm not sure. I guess we'll wait till we get there, but of course, there's a lot of leaf hauling that needs to be done from the 2 cemeteries and the township hall.
Why, never done before.
Oh, it's always been hauled away.
It's always been
Spring
blown against the
cleanup.
fence.
No, it has not.
Yes, it is.
No, it has not been blown against the fence. It's cleaned right up to the fence. I've seen it every year. That blows up against the fence from the outside of the fence, but that's not our property. That doesn't get cleaned. It's to clean inside the fence. No, it does not. Loads and loads and loads and loads of leaves get hauled out of there.
And what do
out
you
of
do with
both
those things?
cemeteries
Oh,
and
that
this
person
building
takes
right
the
here.
same thing that takes care of them. I don't know what they do with them.
So some,
They haul them away.
make sure you get some equipment
Probably
for
goes to the
that,
composting pile or something.
Mm,
if you're gonna do it in-house.
I've seen some at the park. Hmm.
Contractual services.
We don't do mutual aid anymore? We don't have to pay for it?
No,
You don't normally pay for mutual aid, you usually just,
well,
No.
tell that to Metro.
and people. Hmm. I've never seen mutual aid paid for. Maybe swapping pizza dinners, but that's about it.
Well,
So that's
like
pretty
Chief said, tell
interesting.
that to Metro. Pension plan.
This probably ought to go up. Cause we had 40,000 in wages.
Only if that person's gonna be full-time.
We have other non-full-time employees that contribute to the pension plan.
Elected officials and full-time employees are eligible for the plan.
Lois uses it.
No, she doesn't. Lois is not in the pension plan. She's not eligible. Lois takes advantage of the deferred compensation plan, which there is no,
Gotcha.
no contribution from the township. Zero.
Gotcha. All right, so then that could potentially stay at 7,200 then.
Does that cover the annual increase for the chief's wages?
Yeah.
Is that what that's covering?
Next line item I have for ICC annual membership and Northwest Regional Training Center memberships. Any thoughts on either one of those increasing in our next fiscal year, chief?
Yeah, the RTC seems to be creeping up here and there.
Okay. And what
I
did you?
think we're still covered.
You had 1,500 on that too,
Mhm.
chief.
You need 16, how much are they bumping it?
Well, I never know that. So RTC is 575. Now we're still good with
With 15,
the 15.
well, we saved
What do
some
we have to
money.
pay for NFPA membership? We just got that, a renewal thing on that. I haven't looked to see if it's early. Sometimes they send them early.
Yeah. You know, I can't remember, cause we get they have different levels of
Yeah,
packages. So
yeah. Oh, maybe. Are you wanting to pay it this year or no?
yeah, I might, because I do reference the online.
Codes and stuff.
So that was not included because I don't think we did it last year.
So how much is that?
That's,
I usually just use the free online, but sometimes I don't have access to certain
right.
editions.
You think, what, 2,000?
You know, the NFPA, I think, is about $1,000.
I thought it was, yeah, like 9 something.
There a reason to be part of the NFPA, chief?
Well, only to reference the
Manual.
NFPA editions.
And how often do you do that during the year?
Um. I don't know, a dozen times maybe.
And today you access that free of charge?
They have
Or
a
a
free
pink.
version you could get to. Yep. So that's why I didn't redo it last year, but. This individual membership is $175.
That's what I'm seeing. I wonder if your fire people wanted to join underneath your membership.
I think that's all individual memberships, isn't it, chief? You couldn't, if I remember, that was one you can't sign up the department. Maybe I'm
Yeah, but
misremembering that.
technically, there's just one username and password, so.
Yeah,
You could
And I
share.
can give that to anybody.
yeah.
Would you use it more if you had an annual membership?
No,
We can get access what we need for free.
So the free access, it never used to allow you to print it.
no, you can't.
And so
Oh.
that's the major thing there. You can go, you can read it, but it is truly a read-only file. You can't do anything with it. And so
Otherwise, it would be $127.
75.
What's the likelihood of a qualified replacement chief wanting to have access to that?
A pretty good chance.
Training, use a lot of it for training, probably.
But I think with $175, we would still be good on the,
1,500.
what we have allotted.
And really, it used to be an update cycle of about every 24 months. And so that's what I did. Is I would buy a membership every other month, so I had, or every other year, so I had access to the manuals.
Yeah, so their update schedule, they're in the process of rearranging and combining some of their numbers.
Okay,
So, but they do, depending on, what edition you're looking at or what standard you're looking at, it's either 3 or 5 years for
So
the updates.
Do you think the $1,500 there that you proposed is got covered, has wiggle room to cover that?
Yep.
Okay.
That's even when, yep. The RTC ups it. ups
Right.
their,
All right.
They would probably go up to 600. They did up it.
Good by me.
But we do use the RTC a lot. That membership is a no-brainer for our department.
Well, we didn't spend much on snow plowing this year, did we?
yeah, I recommend we take that to 0.
And we'll have a blizzard.
I'll tell you June 1st whether or not that works.
$1,200 still good for internet?
Yep.
$500 still good for community ed? Mileage reimbursement? How come nothing shows up there?
They have fuel man.
Typically, you know, you used to pay for park people mileage to go get their medicals.
And physicals.
Yeah,
We didn't ever pay anyone to go get their physicals.
paid mileage.
No,
I
we
did.
didn't. We paid, there was so little money paid out of park mileage. You can't even really count it. It's barely an expense.
Yeah, so that's something we probably don't take advantage of, and maybe should in some instances. When I sent Zach down to Grand Rapids to, for his physical, his
Right.
work-related physical, I, had him fill out a mileage reimbursement form. And he happily obliged to that, which I wouldn't have it any other way, but,
It's
some-
odd those charges don't show up here.
Well, that wasn't in this fiscal year,
Yes, it
number
was.
one. No, I don't think it was it? Was it in this, was it last summer?
I think it was.
Oh.
I'll double check.
Well, if it was turned into us, we paid it. The year before, well, no, there wasn't anything the year before either.
So you're good with 250 or you want more there?
Nope, I'm good. 250.
Lodging, $1,000.
Yeah, and that's something we really haven't used since COVID either.
Never know, you might need it.
Education and training, you left the same.
Yeah.
We blew by snow plowing, so I guess we're just leaving that at 1,500.
Yep.
I recommended 0 if you remember correctly
I
when
know.
we discussed the line item.
Yeah, being smart. All right, go on.
0? I thought you were just joking around.
My point was, we covered that line item. Publishing 250. So thinking that natural gas is at $700 right now. According to this, and this was as of January. So here we are, if, you know, we don't have any further financial updates. Our last one is January and receivables as of,
Well, you only have a month you're missing, February. And remember, this is only half the gas.
right. And so in January, it was already 700. February, March, 1,000 might not cut it.
And we didn't really have a cold winter, so you're probably looking at maybe 1,500.
You're talking next winter now.
Mm-hmm.
Global warming, right, Della?
Yeah, that's what it is, all right.
It was a cold. Did you budget enough?
Want to leave it at 1,000?
With me.
Same with electricity.
That's what the chief asked for.
1,250 for phone.
Same as what chief asked for.
Cell phone,
It's $50 a month.
But you never know.
Stipend to the chief.
Yeah.
It's his cell phone.
600 is good.
So some of the water got changed around recently.
We were being overbilled and they refunded us and now we're being billed at a lower rate.
So that's what the 524 credit's
Apparently,
about.
apparently that's what the refund they gave us.
I'm not sure what the new rate is. But a couple years ago, they came back and said we were being billed as a residential customer, but we were actually should have been. billed
Commercial.
as Commercial,
Yeah,
so they changed it then, and that's when we made this change, so I wasn't quite sure what, I just left it at 1,000. And of course, that's one of the ones that we split up with the ambulance fund.
yeah. I'd just leave it at 1,000, or it maybe could go down. Now that we're being billed correctly, probably could go down, but
You think commercial is
I
billed
can't-
less than residential? Is that the idea?
Yep, it's easier to get into a commercial building than it is a residential.
I don't know what the water bill is right off the top here, but you can leave it at 1,000. That'd be the easy thing to do.
I'm not sure what happened.
If you don't spend it, you don't spend it. You can look at it next year, and see what the
Yeah, it
actual
would be
bill
more
was.
accurate doing it that way.
That's right.
Put an extra 1,500 in facility and repair and maintenance. Cause it looks like we've already gone by that budget for this year back in January. Don't cry over it, Ardella.
I wanna sneeze.
So you're gonna put 1,500 there?
No, I'm recommending 8,500 because we've already overspent as of January, that account.
Did we have some,
Yeah, that was on there in January.
I don't know, that's at
Well-
the year-to-date total of 7,202 that we've spent out of that account.
I can print that for you, chief.
My financial report was printed on January 3rd, and I showed us at 3,600. I'm wondering what was on.
Well, we had that water heater.
Oh, the
Problem.
water heater.
No.
I don't know how much that
No,
was.
this document was printed on 2/2/24 at 5:52 PM.
And you probably had the water heater on yours.
No, that was after January 2nd.
But this document goes through January 31st of expenditures.
Right. And
So
we didn't get.
the water heater was,
That was on Christmas Day, so we had
Yeah.
it on in January.
yeah, right. So the water heater was in January.
so that's
Yeah, but
included in
billing
the
was in
72.
February. It was in February, bills were payable, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to.
Well, but it's the date it was paid.
Right.
Is the posting date.
Right.
So that should have been split in half. Right?
Yeah, I believe it was, but we can check that. We'll pull a report for
I have-
9:30.
I wouldn't be attracted to the 8,500 either because I have a couple roof leaks that need attention here when the weather brings up.
Okay.
$930. So Northern Garage Doors, Northwest Fire, yeah, D&W Mechanical, the water heater. Was a 130. For the It seemed like January when we did that.
I don't know where January or February went.
Man, I tell you.
Yeah, no problem. They can stay in the past. I've never seen winter this easy. I'm waiting. I tell my husband, I said, another week it'll be a blizzard. Oh, yes.
So you're good with 8,500, chief?
Yeah, I think so.
God, chief, why do you have to say it like that? We're gonna pay for this nice weather.
We are January, or June 1st, we'll have long johns on. And our sketchy is back on our boots. For ice.
So under equipment repairs and maintenance, I have hose testing, flow testing for air packs, extraction equipment, maintenance. Air packs have to be flow tested every year?
Yep.
Okay, so that's an annual, along with hoses. What about the extrication equipment maintenance? Is that on a cycle?
I have that done every 2 years,
Okay,
so I alternate our,
Omatra,
yeah, the home ultra and then hydraulics.
okay,
I alternate. So one's getting done every year. Basically what it boils down to.
You got ladder testing in there too, don't you? I think,
That usually is done with the hose testing,
yeah.
so that's incorporated in that price.
So 6,000 or 6,500? Cause you've got 6,000, right?
He
I-
has 6,000.
want to leave it at 6 or 6,500?
Six.
Vehicle repair and maintenance, leave it at 20,000.
What are we expecting? We got tires or something coming?
Who knows?
Well, we did that. for
Anything could happen.
The fire engine,
Say that again?
we did that for our engine 3. Because it's rickety and last year they didn't want, Pick and Sons did not wanna, DOT it. So I sent it to town to, Grand Traverse Diesel and they DOT'd it. So I just need to get it through one more DOT,
Yeah.
Okay.
so. Pick and Sons and I are gonna have a discussion about that. Or I'll just send it back to, Grand Traverse Diesel. But you know, it's still our only fire engine. And it's still the primary vehicle we use for most of our calls, so.
All right.
It'd be a year
It
before the
actually-
dance.
Well, it'll be all of that because the chassis, they're supposed to get in the second quarter, but then it's a year from that, I think, that they said the vehicle would be done. So that takes us through another budget cycle,
Yeah.
next year's budget cycle for that.
Capital expense, 18,000.
That's kind of been your go-to number, I think, for a few years.
So this year, we recorded 20. I might have gotten columns mixed up here, but it looks like 24,228.
That's liability insurance.
Right now, under capital expenditure, we have the better bags. But this is where the grant writing gets a little confusing because I wrote a grant for that. But you know, we still have to pay it out of a certain account, and then the grant money goes into a
Revenue.
account, so. But I probably don't take advantage of like I should. But a lot of the capital, the miscellaneous tools that we would consider a capital item purchase, you know, like the extrication, better bay, stuff like that. I always try to write grants for that stuff, and the tribe is always really good about funding those sorts of tools, so. I suppose we could lower that. But. And I don't really have anything on the horizon. Cause most of the stuff, I have included in the price of the new fire engine. Like that's coming with fire hose, extrication equipment, that's coming with everything. It should be all stocked up and ready to go. Nozzles and fittings.
At the contract price we agreed to?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, I don't have any. There are some struts. Extrication struts that I wanna purchase, which will probably be a May, 2% grant rate for that. Cause we have really old struts that we've had to use on a couple car accidents recently, and they're just not good, and sometimes they get stuck in the compartment and stuff.
Mhm.
So,
Which renders them use?
yeah, they don't work out too well, so, but that would be a grant fund. But nonetheless, we'd still have to pay for it out of that capital expenditure, so that's the only thing I.
What do those struts cost?
You know, I'm not sure, they have, Hearst has a nice set, but Homalto has a nice set too, and I think they're, we could probably get a decent set for 8 or 10 grand.
So when we tap that back down to 9, split it in half, and if the grant doesn't come through, at least we've got an option for the struts.
That 2 week, 9 2 week.
Well, we could just make it 10, even 10. That'd be okay, John?
Yeah, I'm fine. It just doesn't seem like there's any immediate need. Well,
Yeah.
the need would be, I mean, the struts sound, you know, I mean, for lack of further discussion, sound important at this point. And if the grant doesn't come, it still gives an option of purchasing if we'd like to.
Right.
So I think, I have no problem with 10 with nothing else on the horizon.
Does that move us to liability insurance? So I have total expenditures thus far of 24,228.
but that's with a refund. I believe we got a refund on that. Which we have been putting back to the account it was paid out of.
So how
When
much,
does that come in? That come in
June.
June.
so then it should have been theoretically deducted from that number.
Was,
So then we spent 24,228 on liability for the fire department last year.
and I believe that's after a refund,
Okay, all right.
I think.
So.
I mean, the revenue and expenditure report should show that in that line item.
So was 25 enough?
I don't know. Likely not, with the way insurance premiums are going.
Isn't that the truth?
Yep,
Yeah,
Wow.
cars, houses,
you live in Florida.
liability, I'm sure isn't any different, workers' comp.
So it might
Might
not,
wanna bump that to 27.
yeah, might not be our dollar.
and bump workers' comp to 10. I don't know. We don't know what the premiums are gonna do.
Well,
So,
workers
find out.
are state sponsored.
Right, but we are self-pay, correct?
Yeah.
So if we use it, we pay it.
No, we have pay a premium every year from the accident fund.
I think you're thinking unemployment.
And
Oh, I
You're
am.
thinking unemployment.
I am, you're right.
We're a reimbursing employer,
Yeah.
Reimbursing.
not a
Right.
contributing employer.
So are we going to 10?
I would say so.
Okay.
We went to 27,000 on the liability and then 10 on the,
Yes.
thank you.
If you don't spend it, you don't spend it.
So out of contingency last year, we pulled out about,
Although I would mention one thing, and it probably doesn't make a lot of difference. We don't have the second brush truck on there anymore. But then the other one is more expensive.
Yeah.
Probably. I haven't seen those numbers. But
Right, yeah. Right, cause you added the new one, but took off the old one, which didn't have a lot of value, probably, yeah. So that, when was that added, chief? You remember?
But we are gonna be losing the big one too when it gets sold, right?
Yeah, that one's still on the policy.
Yeah, so that'll be coming on.
Except it's not worth it,
Yeah, it's not.
or the new one's worth a lot,
It's been on for a couple of months.
couple months, yeah.
so under the liability section, we're assuming then that we pay for automobile insurance out of that too. For the fire department, is that?
Yes.
The point of this
The
conversation?
Michigan Township participating plan is liability, auto. Yep, all those insurances that come under the township participating plan. Never has been. Well, it's not split out on the premium. As it is, we get a premium and we have to ask him to split it out
Right.
between general park and fire. It would never was split out. The auto was never split out before. I mean, you can see it in the insurance document. You can see what the premium is in there, but it's never been a separate line item.
What were you saying about contingency?
We spent about $6,400 or $6,800 out of there last year. That was on August,
8,000 it says.
I'm sorry,
It says 8,000 for prior year. On contingency, I don't remember what we had some things we had to cover. that
so
we
I was
moved that
talking
to.
about this year.
Oh, okay.
This year shows nothing.
Yeah. So, the accounting on contingency is a little strange.
Well, we've moved some money out of there. We had to take money out of there towards insurance. Because see, we didn't have enough in insurance. We only had 18,500 and 7,400 in the original budget. And we put almost $6,000. That's it right there. That we had to put more money in because we only allowed 18,500 last year. And we had to bring that up to what we actually paid. And we took it all out of contingency. You can see it right there.
All right.
so those were done via fund transfers, I guess.
No, budget amendments.
Or budget
That's a budget
amendments.
amendment.
And so the amended budget, the difference between the amended budget and the original budget, Ardella, is the amount of money that was moved. And in this particular case, I think it was under note 29. You'll see that the budget amendment, first quarter budget amendment was approved 8/8 of 23.
The
For that.
reason we're seeing 0 under actual through January is because we didn't actually spend it. We budget amended it to another line item.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
Yeah.
doesn't that bring back doesn't that raise the question on 820 liability then? I mean, you had 30% increase. That was unexpected. We budgeted 18,000 change and it comes in at 24. What's I mean, do we just bumped it from 25 to 27,000, $2,000. That just, it seems inconsistent with what we're seeing in the insurance
Sure
marketplace.
does. We're like three
You know, do
thousand
you
short.
think that, on the heels of a 30% increase, they're gonna give a grace period or not take anything up anymore? I'm starting to. I mean, unless we're all looking to say, okay, the contingency line item is appropriately used to do that. I'm wondering if 820 is too low. And.
You know what I'm wondering, Dad, is in our personal lives, when our insurance keeps going up, 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 we start looking around for other agency. A different insurance company to find out if what we're
Yep.
getting,
I just
how
did
is
with
it
my
different
car
for
insurance.
townships? I mean, there are other agencies out there that cover townships.
Maybe it's time
They're
to
not
see-
the only one in
is
the book. For townships to use. Is that something we should be thinking about? I mean, because when my home insurance starts creeping up, as it will do, I look around and sure enough, I will find an insurance company that covers probably more. And I'm right back down into the area where I started with the current insurance company. Everybody knows that, right? Everybody does that. So how is this different? Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I was actually going to bring that suggestion last year. And felt that I wouldn't get a lot of board support to change away from Paul Olson. And so I didn't do it. But I totally support what you just said.
It's that amount.
Well,
of
somebody's
increase.
gotta do the legwork and go out and get the quotes, and then the policies have to be compared. To make sure you're getting, the same thing, the same types of, coverages. There's a lot of different coverages listed under, these policies. They're kind of complicated, and so somebody just has to take on that legwork.
So what I'm hearing is it's a hassle. It's a big hassle. So that's why boards don't do it.
Oh, it just took my husband 4 days to
Pretty
do
complicated.
auto and. Are
It's
you
pretty
being sarcastic,
complicated.
Brian, or not?
No, I'm saying it's pretty
Okay,
complicated.
I'm just checking, cause my husband just spent 4 days on
And so
changing it.
we renew, I think, in April or May
June,
with,
June?
I'm pretty sure it's June.
it's early in the year. And we don't typically get the quote right away. You know, Paul's a nice guy, I get it, but,
He doesn't usually come see us till he has a new quote in October.
Well,
No,
he
he does.
usually comes in May with the new,
policy.
policy that starts June 1st, I believe, and the premium. And so then, but anybody can give him a call and say, hey, what's it looking like? And find out what the increase is gonna be. They probably have some idea of what the increase is going to be. And then you start looking around at that point and get quotes and be prepared to change.
You also have claims going, so that could have done it to you.
He's probably got it done.
I would think. I would think. They have all the number crunchers.
So we're on 890 contingency. So, Ardella, is that something you think you want to do? I mean, where's the board at with that? My schedule is gonna be full, just trying to complete boat wash items, additional DNR permits.
You're about the only one that doesn't have a piece of a pie right now.
Trying to close out the, project 842850, whatever it is.
Wanna take it on? Come on. Otherwise, you can do all my plan commission reading for me. Cause the insurance thing might be happier than what I'm reading.
Okay, so contingency. 10 grand,
Yep.
Reasons we just discussed, yeah.
transfers to other fund, engine chassis. Did we agree on that number, chief?
What, the 145?
Yep.
That's just the 0.5 that I derived from your.
Okay,
estimate.
all right.
That a constant variable, I believe.
So we're taking the increase and making sure it gets transferred to.
Okay,
Okay, that makes sense.
and so that's engine chassis is expected to arrive during the budget year, and the cost is near $88,000. As we found with other vehicles, there's always additional equipment and labor costs to cover 0.5 mil based on, yep, two fire kit.
We already have that money in the fire capital fund. We have some transfers we need to make, but we have the cost of the fire engine covered. There's 95,000 sitting in there right now towards the new fire engine.
So unfortunately, I can't come up with a total, but it's somewhere between 518 and 434. Because those sections in the labor area are blocked out or not functioning anyway. So I'll repair that or attempt to get it repaired. Did you keep a running list? Did anybody keep a running list of the,
I did.
okay?
Did we change 715 to 716? Social Security and Medicare?
We don't use that department anymore. We have them, the Michigan Department of Treasury required several years ago that those had to be, those are up top,
Oh,
under the 7.0. Yeah,
So those can be zero?
yeah, those can be zero. It's already taken care of. Under Department 336, I believe it is.
So I went from the $15 in the black to the 55,338 in the red. I'm glad that was. you
Well,
that
this-
did that.
This had 67.9 in the red,
Really?
this document,
Well, that
if I'm
document.
reading
we
it correctly,
altered.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I don't know what the new recommended total is
yeah,
because I wasn't able to.
yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll be putting the fine touches on this at another meeting.
You got 55,538.
It's got 338 is the change, so. I'm at 492,597.
452.
492,597.
92.
597.
Okay, one person,
492,
492.
492, 597.
Okay. So what is?
So I showed that I just simply took the new number on the revenues, which was 454, 259, and subtracted the 492, 597. And I got a deficit of 38,338. Just by taking
So.
those
um,
two numbers.
I just added up, well. I'm coming up with. If I go, based on what I recorded as the changes, a total of 501,795, but that does not include 715 and 716, the Social Security Medicare calculation. To put those in roughly, what they are here, well, it's 12,
Right, yeah.
$13,000.
Yeah.
But like, I'm at like call it 515 for right now, and then minus the revenues deficit of 65,000 or their part.
Yeah.
I mean, so I guess we're all kind of in the ballpark. Nobody's,
Like Ron said, we don't know exactly what the revenue is going to be until after March Board of Review.
yeah, so I'm just kind of just on the back of an envelope, we seem to be all in about the same.
Yeah.
I'm close. I can, 499.
Okay.
Right.
I don't know what does it. I think there's a cracked wire in that plug-in, but somebody ran it over with a chair. Cause it's almost like there's a short somewhere.
Was it giving you fits?
No.
Oh, no.
Mm-mm. I got nothing.
Well, that's a tone you usually get when you're trying to do something that isn't allowed. I don't know.
Oh, there's something with W. It has to do with permissions. Just in certain lines. Cause it's not the whole W column.
What account we going to next?
I would think fire, capital improvement. Right?
Okay.
Even as long as we're,
In the fire mode?
yeah,
Sounds like a point.
sorry, I don't know where that's coming from.
Well, that should be easy then. grants and resources. Anybody disagree with 0?
Nope.
But he disagree with $175 worth of interest earned?
Yeah, probably
Okay.
should at least put 500 in there.
Okay,
I mean, I know we're gonna be spending a lot of money out of it, but
yep.
there's a lot sitting there.
Other revenues, anybody disagree with 0?
It's never good.
Mine's working, yours isn't?
Oh, you get down to the transfers and it's like, no. It's on a
So-
protected sheet, it says.
Yeah.
Unprotect the sheet. I have to enter a password,
So,
so you'll fix that.
well, I don't think I can at this point.
Oh, no. The next time we get,
I don't,
oh, man.
I, my password ain't working.
Huh.
So note 31 says, 145,753. Note 31 says 31.5% of ARPA funds was $93,073.38. $100,000 from general fund. Plus $131,000 from increased millage. Should have been transferred already. So that's in the existing budget. As I read my notes, and again, these are made around Christmas time. And so in this existing budget, I think if we looked back at fire capital, the budget we're currently in. If we look back at fire capital, we were supposed to transfer the ARPA funds plus $100,000 from general fund. And then for some reason, I calculated $131,000 from the increased millage. But I think that was calculated off of last year's taxable value. I think that's how I come up with that number. Because our L 4029 that we sent in back in September of 23 already had the $500,000 increase on it.
That number's 131,000.
In, yeah, and I think that comes right from our actual budget document that we're working in right now. Can anybody pull
Well,
up?
we don't have that money until after February 14th, right, Della? When all the taxes are paid. The $500,000 extra that was levied in December is probably mostly been paid.
Yep.
But you wouldn't make that transfer until close to the end of the fiscal year. The other transfers can be made anytime and can be brought by anybody. They'll be brought at the budget public hearing.
So
But yeah, those figures, let's see.
I thought we had discussed this as policy already, that we were gonna make those transfers. And I thought that was at the last budget gathering we got together that we would make the transfers as soon as possible into the new fiscal year. Because,
It depends on when the money actually comes in. Like if it's a December billing, you
okay,
gotta wait until the money comes in and then you can transfer that.
but for example, we've had the ARPA funds now for more than a year. The funds from the general fund can be transferred over because we already have those. What By not making those transfers, it makes this process hugely complicated.
The other thing that it does, Ron, is that you're transferring funds from one fund to another fund. And if you don't do it when you actually have the funds available to do it, the general fund or whatever fund's holding the money is getting all the interest. And it really should belong,
I understand that point.
you
Yep.
know, so not every single budget transfer can be done immediately after we adopt the budget. But the ones that can be, probably, they should be.
And I thought that was our discussion from last year. And you said something very similar. I'm recalling a similar discussion that we can't make every one, but those that we can, we should do as soon as it's possible for us, right? And I don't think we put any time limit on it or anything like that, but you know, here's a perfect example. So there's about $200,000 worth of difference.
Okay.
If we take a look at the fire capital balance, fire capital improvement balance, as of 12/31, I have it recorded as 101,065. And I believe that comes from your report as of 12/31, Ardella. So really, there's almost $300,000 in that account, or should be.
And once again, the budgeted transfer memo is generally a one-page document. It simply brings a motion to transfer whatever from whatever fund to whatever fund that was budgeted. You simply look through the budget document. Anybody can prepare that document. And it doesn't have to be the clerk's office that does that. I typically have done it. But there's nothing in writing that says the clerk has to do that. So those budgeted transfers can be made whenever you want them to be by simply bringing a memo and an agenda item.
I guess, Ron, because the clerk's office has always done it, I guess I've been lax. Maybe I should have done it. Just expected Cheryl to do it. I'll take that on. I guess Cheryl, you and I need to talk about how it's gonna be done from now on.
Yeah, you can just,
You, me, both of us, what?
yeah, right, yeah.
Waiting until the end, we don't have to wait till the end of the.
No, I get that. I'm perfectly willing to vote yes on transferring the money earlier, the money that we have.
Right.
Voting yes on transferring that money.
Well, we have a meeting coming up. There'll be some budget transfers on the list.
Well, the 312 agenda is already out, so thought it would probably be and we have done it at the budget public hearing before. The last budget amendments and the budgeted transfers, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for fire cap, it was 100,000 from the general fund, the 137,082 from the fire fund, and the 93,073 from the federal fund.
Well, according to our policy and procedure manual, I think that it does ask the clerk to do it as the fiscal officer under section 4.7D. So.
Well, budget amendments, I think, are under there. I don't know if budgeted transfers are in there.
I mean, okay, split hairs, but.
Well, they're not the same thing.
I
Budget
understand.
amendments and budgeted transfers are not the same animal at all.
Do you pay an electric bill, Cheryl?
I'm not interested in your whatever kind of analogy you're gonna try to make. Let's get through this budget.
Because the water bill is different than an electric bill.
Budget amendments are not the same animal as budgeted transfers. Everybody here is getting paid to know that.
So there's really $300,000 in that account.
And it's all allocated, except for about 5,000 of it. You just went through that on your, the resolution for purchase and funding of the, new fire engine.
So this proposed budget transfer from other funds is strictly the half mil additional based on the 291 506 190 number of taxable value. Anybody see an issue with that?
No, I do not.
Okay. And under capital expense, note 30, again, in this fiscal year, what we think is going to take place is just the fire engine chassis. And that was 88 and some change. And I'm proposing we allocate $100,000 towards that.
Because there will be
No.
additional things for it.
No, that is incorrect. The payment schedule outlined by CSI, the chassis payment due at chassis delivery anticipated to arrive in the second quarter is $113,130. Then, the next payment is 25% of body price down at project startup.
Where's that document?
This is right out of the contract that was signed with CSI.
So what was the second payment, Cheryl?
88,439. Now, it would seem like that would also occur in the next fiscal year,
We estimate that to be around January.
10 months from now.
So I picked up
Okay.
the body number, not the chassis number,
Yeah, that's gonna be our first payment.
is the chassis. So Cheryl, from that, can we get a copy of that document?
Well, this is the resolution as
Can we get a
you,
copy of it?
well, when it's done, you can, but you all have the contract. You all have the CSI contract, and these numbers were taken right out of the CSI contract. The CSI contract is what you want to be looking at. Whatever month that was that October, Chief, I think? Forget now.
But we need to increase this from 100,000.
Yeah, it looks like maybe I picked up the body, not the chassis. Yeah,
So 113,130 and 88,439 is 2,001,569.
200,000.
Yeah, I'm sorry, $201,569. So,
Okay.
and then the balance due on delivery, we'll need that 201,569.
how did you arrive at 201,569?
She took the 113,130.
One person, please.
Go ahead, Heidi.
You took the 113, 130 and added 88, 439, correct, Cheryl?
Yes. Which are right out of the contract documents.
And that came to a total of 201,569, correct?
Okay.
Yep. And just to make sure this is covered, you had, when I went through the entire fire capital fund, what was in there that was, cause had a lot of vehicles that were being funded out of there. So we had to go back and figure out, okay, which are the ones we don't need to spend any more money on, which are the ones, and I think we still had like 5,000, 5 to 6,000 in there, because there was $101,000 at the end of November. I think there was 101,000. And chief wanted to retain like 5 to 6,000 for brush truck, the new brush truck. So if you should add that also, because he has some things that he still wants to purchase for the new brush truck.
So you need to add an additional 5,000 to this number.
That money should already be in there.
I know, but
Yes.
we have to budget the expenditure of it.
Okay.
It is in there. It is in there, but we have to budget it to come out in the next fiscal year unless you're going to spend it by the end of
I
March.
told him it needs to be done by March 31st.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay, then, well,
And we had a few thousand left over from the F-150 project. That we're gonna,
but that went to the brush truck because we didn't
Yeah.
have money left over on the brush truck. So if that's going to be spent by the end of March, then we don't have to budget to spend that in the next fiscal year. The only thing we have to budget is the payments on the new fire engine.
Okay, so
I'm in favor of adding some for it. What happens if they don't get done by March 31st? So. What does it matter if we add 10 grand to it?
Well, there's only 5 left in the account. So, I mean, based
What account, Cheryl?
5,000. There's approximately 5,000, a little over 5,000 in the fire capital improvement fund. That can be spent on something other than the new fire engine.
So I don't have those allocation numbers. In my math, there's almost $300,000 in that account.
After transfers,
And so.
but it's
what we
all,
talked
but those
about here
transfers are
is
for the new fire engine.
201,569 for the fire engine, which leaves roughly $100,000. So.
But that's all allocated towards the fire engine. You're just not spending it all right now. That's all allocated towards the fire engine.
Who allocated it?
we did as a board.
That's right.
This is like. If you look at our old budget, this current year that we're still in's budget, at the bottom of the adopted budget, it
Mhm.
breaks it out.
That's the old budget.
And we're
The
working
budget
on
we're
putting
in
the
right
new
now.
budget in. Budget we're currently in now is what she's talking about.
And
What's left over from what we, as a board, said the capital expenditures was going to be.
and so
If you wanna make it, I mean, so basically rounding what's needed for the fire engine in this next fiscal year is 202,000. If you're worried that the last details of the brush truck, which the chief has already said aren't gonna be more than 5,000, you would add 5,000 to it and put 207,000 in there. In 970. Because the other of the money that's going in there from these transfers is going towards the final payment on the fire engine. Which is $348,500 due on delivery.
So we make it 207. Two oh seven, 569.
Well, I was rounding the 201,569 to 202. And then just adding 5,000 to that. So I think it can be a round number.
So what's the round number?
207.
And the 5K, I'm gonna request be unallocated
Why?
because
Do we really need to, I mean, we're talking $5,000 here. You know,
do we need to assign it to the brush rig just in case it doesn't get done? Okay, well,
That's a guess.
you guys do what the hell you wanna do. Quite frankly, this does not have to be this difficult. This is
Well, the
but
number you have in there isn't accurate.
yeah,
The
I totally
100,000.
agree. I totally agree. That's a
So we
mistake.
had to
I
have this
picked it.
discussion.
I picked up the body, not the chassis.
So he just reversed the numbers.
No, I didn't. But the
I
thing
will
is-
I will allocate the 5,000 to the new brush truck.
No,
Well, we had 105,000 for the new brush truck.
But that has been spent.
The whole 105?
Yes. All of that has been spent.
202,000. Anybody got a problem with it?
I'm good, move along.
Yep. The brush truck don't get done, the brush truck don't get done.
That's just silly.
Give me a break. It's real supportive of your fire chief.
Yep.
Wow.
All right, so we're done.
Yep.
What do you think the bottom number is gonna be? Cause I've got one category in there that won't let me enter.
Yeah, so it's going to be 202,000.
Not gonna be 202,000. Oh, you mean for expenditures? Not for the
Oh, you mean for
not
total
for the
revenue?
balance. It's gonna be a deficit because this document
Is your question?
never has taken into account what's
Bottom line.
currently in the funds.
The change in balance.
So change in balance.
It's gonna be a negative 60 something, isn't it?
Oh, it's gonna be more than that. Yeah, no, that's right around that. Yep. Because we added 102,000 to the bottom line for expenses. And there's a $45,000 boot left in the account from this budget year, from the proposed budget year. So 45 from 102 is about 60 grand. Yep, so we'll still have almost $150,000 in that account at the end of the year.
I'm sorry.
We want to move on or we want to close down?
I'm good with stopping for today.
I've got appointments beginning at 1 and then board of review at 3.
Yeah, well, do you think you're gonna be able to figure out, Ron,
No.
what's going on?
Nope,
Are you gonna be able to change it and then send it to us?
not gonna be able to do that. Don't know what went wrong, but something did, so. Guess we're on it by hand.
So any idea what we're doing next so that if
General fund,
general fund, not park, not road fund?
well, at this rate, we probably won't even be able to get through general fund revenue.
General fund always takes the longest.
Well, I'll be ready.
Board comments and discussion?
I have one. I only got one comment back on, I only got one comment back on the private road ordinance. And I looked at the votes. 3 of you people at the table voted. 2 of you voted no, 1 of you voted yes. I need that yes person to please give me some ideas on why you did that.
And that's the reason I didn't comment, Heidi, because I voted no to repeal the private road ordinance because there was nothing to take its place.
I'm waiting on you.
So you did get my comment?
I did,
Okay,
and I can also tell you that that's how you name the streets. The process in there to name the streets has happened there. And then we have another thing with the Historical Society, but I'm waiting for paperwork on that. Nothing's in writing. All we got.
any public comment here in the township hall? Any public comment out in Zoom land? Seeing none, I will make a motion for adjournment. Second. Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Goss, yes, Bennett,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Balmu,
Yes.
Pop.
Yes. 11:56 a.m.
Yeah. Bring your lunch for the next one, people. We're gonna